Let's talk about drugs. You need to be informed in order to protect yourself and your best interests. The system we live in provides inadequate education in this regard. My generation was taught that all drugs are bad, so just say no.
Is there anyone out there who still isn't clear about what doing drugs does? Okay, last time. This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Access to accurate information about drugs has improved quite a bit since then, but it is still not well advertised, and frankly, my recent searches turned up a lot of confusing or incorrect information, mostly funded by religious organizations. Here's the problem. All drugs are different, and some are a lot more dangerous than others. So the message that all drugs are bad is a little bit confusing because you will most likely encounter successful, well-adjusted people who do use certain drugs. And when this happens, you might feel that you've been lied to because you were told that drugs destroy lives, but it didn't destroy this person's life, so what's up, right? And just to be clear, drugs do often destroy lives, but there is a lot of nuance, and that's what we want to discuss. The United States federal government is partially to blame for the confusing message. Dangerous addictive drugs like methamphetamines and heroin are classified as Schedule I substances right alongside of drugs like cannabis, mushrooms, and LSD, which all evidence indicates are safer than alcohol for most people. Meanwhile, legal prescription drugs can be even more dangerous if used incorrectly. The drugs are bad message makes it difficult to tell apart the risk of different types of drugs, but also, even if you have absolutely no interest in using any drugs ever in your life, how should you regard other people when you find out that they use drugs? For example, it's very likely you'll have a friend in college who you respect, who gets straight A's, who holds down a good job, but they use cannabis on a regular basis. Do you stay friends with that person, or do you distance yourself? Or what do you do when you find out that your favorite college professor takes acid once a year? Should you forget everything you learned from them? Well, probably not. The goal of this series is to help you do two things: be educated and know your boundaries. Starting with cannabis and alcohol, and then going all the way into other things like methamphetamines and dangerous prescription drugs, I will provide basic education and a structure to help you set your personal boundaries. Some questions you'll want to ask yourself are, which drugs am I absolutely unwilling to take at any point in my life? Or, which drugs am I willing to try at some point? And then when is that point? At what age or what life stage? In what setting and with which friends? And which drugs am I not willing to be around? For example, I'm okay to have a friend that smokes cigarettes but not a romantic partner. Or I am not okay to have friends that use methamphetamines. And then how will I communicate my boundaries? If you prepare ahead of time, it's much easier to deal with social pressures as they arise. There are a lot of drugs to cover, and we won't get to all of them. So if you ever are curious about a specific drug, talk to your parents or look it up on a reputable website like WebMD.com or similar sites that are curated by medical professionals to find unbiased facts. And then finally, no one knows everything about every drug, so don't be afraid to ask what someone means if they bring up something that you don't recognize. Knowledge is power. Okay, with that said, next video, we're going to start with cannabis.